Ever find yourself kneeling before like the altar of flat pack furniture, only to realize your Allen wrench has like gone AWOL?
Happens to the best of us.
Seriously, it's like the universe just loves to test our, DIY spirit.
Right.
But today, we're turning that frustration into like a toolbox triumph. We're
Yeah.
taking a deep dive into those moments when you're facing down an Allen screw and the right tool is nowhere to be found.
Because let's face it, sometimes a little ingenuity is the best tool you've got.
Exactly. We've got the article, How Do You Remove Allen Screws Without Allen Keys Standing By, ready to be dissected for its wisdom.
Oh,
Get this, it all starts with understanding WHY that darn screw is shaped the way it is.
yeah, it's actually kind of fascinating when you think about it. That six-sided design, it's not just for show.
Right.
It gives the Allen screw incredible grip and strength,
Yep.
especially under pressure.
Yeah, the article mentions that's because the force gets distributed evenly across those 6 points, right? So it can handle way more tightening and loosening before it even thinks about stripping.
Precisely. Imagine using a regular slotted screw in, say, a bicycle.
Oh, yeah.
All that torque and vibration, you'd be stripping screws left and right. But the Allen screws design,
Yeah.
that's what makes it the MVP for anything that needs to stay put.
Which explains why they're everywhere. Bikes, furniture, even some electronics. But, as we all know, knowing WHY doesn't always help when you're stuck trying to remove one.
That's where our deep dive into alternatives comes in handy. And what I love about this article is that it doesn't assume you have a, professional grade workshop at your disposal.
Right. It's all about using what you've probably got lying around. And they start with a classic, the flathead screwdriver.
Ah, the flathead, a tool for all seasons, truly.
Yeah.
But here's where the article gets really clever. They recommend slipping a rubber glove over the screwdriver tip for extra grip.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Why haven't I thought of that before? I'm always worried about the screwdriver slipping and scratching things up.
It's all about increasing friction. That rubber glove makes a world of difference, especially if the screw is being stubborn. Now, if the flathead lets you down, the article suggests bringing out the big guns locking pliers.
Okay, before we go any further, can you quickly explain what makes locking pliers different from regular pliers for those of us who might not know the difference?
Ah, excellent question. Imagine this. You've got that stubborn screw in your sights, and you're wrestling with regular pliers, trying to maintain a grip while you twist.
Oh, yeah.
Exhausting, right?
Mm.
Locking pliers are the heroes we need, because once they're clamped down, they stay put.
So you can focus all your energy on turning, no more death grip on the handles.
Precisely. Less hand fatigue, more control. The article mentions you can even use them on just a portion of the screw head if space is tight.
Now, that's what I call working smarter, not harder. But what if even those trusty locking pliers fail you?
Well, that's where things get a bit more adventurous. If you're dealing with a really stubborn screw, the article suggests creating a slot in the screw head.
Okay, that sounds a little intimidating.
I wouldn't recommend it unless you've exhausted all other options, and you absolutely need the right tools for the job. The article recommends a Dremel tool if the screw head is recessed, but a hacksaw can work if it's exposed. Just remember, safety first, and always protect your eyes.
Noted. Now, I remember the article also mentioned torque wrenches and even some regular wrenches as potential substitutes, but aren't those usually for, like, more heavy-duty jobs?
You're right, torque wrenches and keys are all about precision.
Right.
Think of, say, engine work where you need to tighten bolts to a very specific degree. But that precision can be useful in a pinch, even with Allen screws.
So if you happen to have a torque wrench lying around, it's like having a secret weapon.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
But even more common are ratchet wrenches, open-ended wrenches, and combination wrenches. These can work surprisingly well as Allen wrench stand-ins.
Wow, that's a lot of wrenches. Is there a common thread that ties them to this Allen screw situation?
It all comes down to finding the right size socket or opening that fits snugly onto the screw head.
Okay.
Imagine it like a Cinderella story, but for tools. A perfect fit equals success.
Right.
A loose fit, well, let's just say things can get messy.
Got it. No glass slippers for these screws. So we've got a whole arsenal of potential Allen wrench alternatives, which is awesome, but I'm sensing a however coming.
You're right to be cautious.
Yeah.
Just because you can use a tool for a job it wasn't intended for doesn't mean you should throw caution to the wind. There are telltale signs you might be headed for disaster.
Disaster. Okay, you've got my attention. What kind of red flags should we be watching out for?
Well, the most obvious is stripping the screw head.
Right.
That's when you're putting so much force on the screw that you're basically grinding away the metal.
Yeah.
You might hear it happening too. A nasty grinding sound
Oh.
that sends shivers down your spine.
Yeah, not a sound you want to hear in the middle of a project. Is there a way to tell if you're applying too much pressure before things get that bad?
Honestly, it often comes down to like feel.
Okay.
If you're straining,
Right.
if the tool feels like it's going to slip or break, those are your cues to step back and reassess.
Okay.
Remember, it's always better to back off and try a different approach than to risk turning that screw into a mangled mess.
Makes sense. No one wants a Frankenstein furniture situation on their hands.
Exactly. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the Allen screws design.
Right.
That six-sided shape, while strong, isn't invincible.
Right.
Using the wrong tool or technique just increases the risk of stripping those delicate points.
Yeah.
And then you're really in trouble.
So it's a delicate dance between ingenuity and knowing when to say when,
Right.
which actually makes me think of another point the article made.
Okay.
In an ideal world, we'd all have a full set of perfectly sized Allen wrenches at arm's reach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's not always realistic, is it?
Right.
Life throws curveballs, tools go missing.
Exactly. Which is why this whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. I mean, we started with how to remove an Allen screw in a pinch.
Right.
But now we're talking about the tools themselves,
Right.
the mechanics. It feels like a whole new way of looking at DIY.
That's the beauty of understanding the why behind things.
Right.
It empowers you to make smarter decisions, whether you're disassembling a piece of furniture or building something from scratch.
Speaking of building things, this conversation has me thinking about the flip side of all this.
Okay.
We've talked about removing Allen screws, but knowing how much force they can handle, how the different tools interact with them, wouldn't that knowledge also help you choose the right kind of fastener for your own projects?
That's an excellent point. It's like the difference between knowing how to read a map and understanding the terrain.
Okay.
Knowing how to remove a screw is one thing,
Right.
but understanding why you might choose that type of screw in the first place, that's next level DIY thinking.
Okay, so walk me through this. Let's say I'm building, I don't know, a bookshelf. What kind of thought process should I be going through when it comes to choosing the right screws?
Well, let's think about it. A bookshelf needs to be sturdy, right?
Right.
It's going to be holding weight, potentially dealing with vibrations if it's in a high traffic area.
Right.
And remember how we talked about the Allen screw's ability to withstand higher torque?
Yeah, because of that six-sided design, the force is distributed evenly.
Exactly. So in the case of a bookshelf, using Allen screws would be a smart choice.
Okay.
They offer that extra level of security and resistance to loosening that you might not get with, say, a regular slotted screw.
So even though it might seem like a minor detail, the type of screw you choose can actually make a big difference in the long run.
Absolutely. And knowing how those screws interact with different tools, that's where your newfound knowledge really shines. It's like having X-ray vision into the mechanics of your project.
I love that analogy. So instead of just grabbing whatever screws are within reach, it's about thinking about the specific demands of the project and choosing fasteners that are up to the task.
Precisely. And that's what elevates a DIY enthusiast to a true maker. It's about understanding the tools, the materials, and the forces at play. It's about building things that last.
Okay, now I feel like I need to go back and reevaluate every DIY project I've ever attempted.
Hey, we've all been there. But what's important is that you're starting to ask these questions, to think critically about the process.
Right.
And that, my friend, is how you become a master of your craft.
So to sum it all up, we've learned that removing an Allen screw without an Allen key is totally doable,
Absolutely.
as long as you're smart about it. We've uncovered the hidden talents of everyday tools. And we've even, kind of discovered that knowing how to deal with those Allen screw dilemmas can actually make you a better DIYer in the long run, right?
Yeah, it's all like connected,
Who knew?
Who knew that something as simple as an Allen wrench could spark such a fascinating exploration?
That's the magic of a good deep dive, right? You never know where it's going to lead.
It's about curiosity and that drive to understand not just the how, but the why. And I think that's something our listeners can take with them long after this episode ends.
Absolutely. So the next time you find yourself face to face with an Allen screw and a missing wrench, don't panic. Channel your inner MacGyver, remember the tips we've uncovered, and approach the challenge with a healthy dose of ingenuity and, a little bit of caution.
And who knows, right? You might just surprise yourself with what you're capable of.
Until next time, happy tinkering, everyone.